a few years ago was scandalized. Why? Because a large number of people, incited by their president, decided to storm the citadel of their democracy. Are you telling me that democracy is alive and kicking in the way that you think it should be? For America to sit and lecture us, the same America, of course, that does deals with authoritarian states, that looks the other way, they are going to tell us about democracy, number one. Number two, why invite third-party intervention? Number three, Rahul Gandhi himself obviously has very little regard for democracy. He doesn't even show up in parliament. His attendance is much lower than the national average, by 20 percentage points. His party men come out and say that Prime Minister ko ke liye kabar khodna chahiye. We should bury the Prime Minister in a grave. I mean, that's not democracy. That's not even the language of democracy. That's not, I mean, how do you explain this?
Right, you packed quite a few into your questions, Rahul. The first question is, does America have a right to lecture India? I tend to be of the belief that no nation should lecture another, right? So I won't analyze the faults of American democracy. That's for Americans to do. Second question is, should Rahul Gandhi have invited the intervention of Americans and other Western nations in India's affairs? I think whether or not he did that is up for debate, but if he did do that, if you're convinced that he did do that, that bespeaks the weakness of his position. If he's an effective opposition leader, he shouldn't be going around the world begging others to intervene in India's affairs. It's because he's not a very effective opposition leader that he might have done that. I don't know if he's done that. Substantively, I have very little disagreement with what he said in his speeches abroad. His words about the state of Indian democracy, about human rights, all of those I'm actually in agreement with. I happen to agree with those. I just don't think Rahul Gandhi is a credible messenger for those words. Because he is not, when you look at democracy, you don't just look at democracy in the way it's being subverted by the government. You actually begin at the level of the political party. And you would be hard-pressed to find a more anti-democratic political party than the one over which Rahul Gandhi presides. Why, in the first place, is Rahul Gandhi touring England? He's a backbench MP. This party just had a quote-unquote election in which a new leader was elected. Why isn't that man going and, giving the lectures? Why is Rahul Gandhi the prime ministerial candidate? Rahul Gandhi and his family have presided over the utter destruction of democracy in the party that actually inaugurated Indian democracy, the party that is the architect of Indian democracy. And that ought to bother all of us. This is not a partisan debate, whether you belong to the Communist Party or the Bharatiya Janata Party or Aam Aadmi Party. This should concern all Indians, because Congress is not an ordinary party. It's an institution that incubated Indian democracy. And when that party rots from within, that should concern all of us. And Rahul Gandhi was on the Defense Committee, just to speak about his own credentials. Between 2019 and 2020, that committee held 11 meetings. Since he talked about China, he skipped every one of those. He has one of the worst attendance records in Parliament. He presided. He was such a terrible constituency MP that he had to carpetbag his way into Parliament from South India, from Kerala. Right. This man has credentials, and in fact, he hurts the message when he hurts the message.
Okay.
When he becomes the messenger.
That's